joined us from Waterford. Dave.
Thanks very much. Like Mick, I want to thank the organisers of the meeting tonight for inviting me and for inviting my party to take part in this debate. I'm also pleased that my party is part of the broad alliance of progressive organisations, mainly on the left, who are opposed to the Lisbon Treaty. It is important that we work together, and more importantly, I think it's important that we have an honest debate and a factual debate about what exactly people are being asked to vote on in this referendum. And I say that because the last time out, and we're seeing it again this time, there are reactionary people on both sides of the argument who are trying to bring in all sorts of issues into the debate which have nothing got to do with the referendum or what people are being asked to vote on. We have people on the fringes of the no side, organisations like Cllr, who are bringing issues into the debate which are not part of the Lisbon Treaty, which should not form part of the debate or the discussion. And there are obviously people on the yes side, mainly the establishment parties and the complicit media that Mick spoke about, who are trying to convince us that if we vote for Lisbon, then Lisbon is going to be some sort of panacea to all of the economic problems which exist in this country. And it's important that we say that because when people go to the ballot box and when people vote on this referendum, people are being asked to vote on the Lisbon Treaty, the detail of the Lisbon Treaty, the outworkings of the Lisbon Treaty, and what the Lisbon Treaty will mean for Ireland, for Limerick, for yourselves and for the community you live in. That's what people are being asked to vote on, and not some of the other issues that the government and others would want people to think that we're voting on. I was one of those who read the Lisbon Treaty. I remember when I first got the treaty itself, the first paragraph of the treaty said that the treaty was a whole series of amendments and addendums to previous treaties. And you had to go and read the Maastricht Treaty, the Amsterdam Treaty, and all of the other previous treaties before you had a basic understanding of the Lisbon Treaty. So how in God's name are most people to understand what was in the treaty? And then of course the treaty itself is littered with all sorts of language that covers up what is actually in the treaty. I want to give a number of examples. Control, where Europe will control things, is called competence. The EU will have competence, not control, but competence, and it sounds nice. Privatisation, which Brendan spoke about, liberalisation is the word that's used. Militarisation and war and military interventions is called peacemaking. Talk about peacekeeping, and then there's peacemaking. So not only do you have to read the treaty, we have to decode the treaty as well. And fortunately for me, there's people within the party who are tasked with going off and doing all of that. And I got the job of coming to speak to yourselves here tonight. I'm glad to be part of this alliance because I think, as I said, it is important that we, parties on the left especially, come together and actually deal with the real issues which are at the heart of the Lisbon Treaty. And I remember, because there is a sense of déjà vu with all of this, that we had these debates before. We put the posters up, we got the leaflets out, we went and we voted, we had the voting day and people voted no. 900,000 people in this state voted against the Lisbon Treaty for all sorts of reasons. And I remember a debate I had with Martin Manzarek in South Tipperary. And I had laboured that night on the whole issue, this whole notion of democracy, a democratic deficit at the heart of Europe. And I spoke about the unelected positions, powerful positions which are being created, an EU president, a foreign minister, and very powerful positions which are being created where people will be appointed. Ireland is given away control or competence in 105 areas to Europe at a time when our voting strength in the key institutions is being reduced by half. Our voting strength has been reduced by half, and the bigger states of Germany and France are seeing their voting strength doubled and in some cases trebled. On top of that, of course, we were losing our automatic right to a commissioner. So Ireland's influence in Europe was being eroded. And then you had these big powerful institutions, the Commission and the Council of Ministers, who make the legislation. You know, the European Parliament is peculiar in that the legislators, the people who send there, the MEPs, don't formulate the legislation that comes from other bodies. So, you know, the whole notion of democracy and the democratic deficit is real. And it's one of the reasons why the people of France voted against the Constitution, and the people of the Netherlands voted against the Constitution, which was a previous incarnation of this treaty, the Lisbon Treaty. And Martin Manzarek at that meeting dispensed any notion of a democratic deficit, did not want to hear of any criticism, of any lack of respect at all within Europe. And he had the reverse argument, of course, that the Lisbon Treaty enhances democracy. And since then, as I said, people have gone, they voted, 900,000 people, and what has Martin Manzarek, the government, and the political leaders in Europe done? They've disregarded the will of the people. They were given a mandate to negotiate a better deal, and they said no. They have been trying everything since to pull the wool over the eyes of people in this room and the Irish people. And they want to blind people with these so-called guarantees, which are not guarantees at all. They're just interpretations, their interpretations of different aspects of the treaty. And most of the issues they gave so-called clarification on were some of the peripheral issues which were actually raised by the people on the margins of the No campaign in the first place. But the real and substantive issues that were talked about here tonight, the democratic deficit being one, but the whole issue of workers' rights, public services, and issues which are important to people have not been dealt with at all. And again, what are the people being asked to vote on this time round? Exactly the same treaty.